take the lead on this drive.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central. CFL content for the fans, by the fans. We have our Week 20 review coming right up. And first of all, I want to put out a little bit of an apology. A bit later than I think me and Rick were hoping to do this. Kind of had some complications when we were trying to record the first time earlier in the week.
When I fell asleep on you?
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't get a hold of it. It is what it is. It happens.
Usually it's the other way around.
And then last night I was actually at a Evanescence concert in Winnipeg. It was the Warning Hailstorm in Evanescence. So that was a concert and left my ears ringing at the end of that. So not really able to do much recording with that. So we're at it finally now on this Wednesday evening, 11:42 Central by the time we're recording this. I guess
the video will come out before it needs to.
Yeah, but we're actually going to be, if you're watching this, then you'll be glad to know that this is a bit of a double header today with the review from this past week as well as the preview coming out in the same day. So make sure to stay tuned for that coming out later today. Saying today just because of when this video drops. But got 3 games this past weekend to cover. Not the most important games in the world, but CFL is CFL. You know we'll cover it regardless. We'll be covering these 2 weeks, and then we'll also probably at some point have a video out on some of the nominations for the different awards from each of the teams. And then obviously in the future when the awards do come out and we have winners, we'll definitely do a video on that. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And then also we might have a bit of a specialty video coming out in a little bit if that comes to fruition. But anyways, Rick, should we get into the first game of this week?
Oh, buddy, we should get into the first game of the week.
Before we do that, make sure you guys like the video, share it around, and subscribe if you haven't already. This wouldn't be a Canadian Football Central video if I wasn't begging you for you to do that. Also, if you guys are listening on Spotify, give us 5 stars. Helps out the channel a lot. Now, on Friday, October 18th, the Hamilton Tiger Cats would defeat the Calgary Stampeders by a score of 42-20. Rick, the floor is yours.
Before I go into my thoughts,
yep.
Did you think before this game, Bo would hit 5,000 passing yards on the season?
In the one game, no.
Well, let me tell you, my friends. So, we will start with a little bit of trickery action here. So Calgary went to go start off the game. 6 minutes of game time before throwing an interception to Jonathan Moxley. Before that happened, I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go. The old Ticat team's back. We're playing like garbage. We're playing against the shittiest team in the league. But then Bo decides to go 5 for 5 for 60 yards and a touchdown to Tim White, while Greg Bell ran 1 carry for 2 yards, and Lee Trey had 1 carry for 3 yards. After that, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but the Grace goes to kick off, and he kicks it, 10 yards? So we start at their 31, and then next year, Bo throws a 1 pass, 31 yards, to Tim White for his second touchdown in the game. After that, Calgary would go 2-0 again. And then, so Bo actually threw his first incomplete pass with 34 seconds left in the first quarter. The second quarter, the game started with Giovanni Robinson, which I call Tree, because the guy is 6'8", would get a receiving touchdown, but Legs would miss the field goal. Calgary would then go 2-0 again. Not a surprise. Bo would then be Bo and throw a 43-yard field goal pass to Dunbar Jr. Would then throw an incomplete and then another 21-yarder to Dunbar. Bo would finish off the drive with 10 passing yards to Greg Bell and then a 6-yard touchdown to Dunbar. At this point, Bo had 4 touchdowns, and this is only at the 10:35 of the second quarter. Calgary would then get a bit of a groove going before they fumbled the ball, and yes, it was recovered by Casey Sales. So the first punt for us did not come until the 5:39 mark of the second quarter. Legio and Paredes would each kick a field goal. And then just before the end of the second quarter, what happens? Bo throws a pick six to Trey Robertson, which then...
And this would be the one interception that he does throw tonight.
So at this point, it was 30-10 at half. To start the third quarter, Bo would throw a 35-yarder to Dunbar, again, with a few rushes and small passes in between. Legio would kick another field goal. Mills would then rush for 14 yards and a pass interception, pass interference play and 2 rushes by Kay Hill. And then Schultz would finish off with his only rushing touchdown, which would end up being a Bagleton 2-point convert. And then Bo would go 2-and-out before Paredes would get the last few points for the Stamps on a field goal, which would give him 20 points on the game. At the end of the third quarter, Schultz got hurt, and we're all Ticat fans are all thinking, oh, great. Here comes Jake Mayer. What's going to end up happening? He starts the fourth quarter with a 21-yard pass and a Mills 5-yard rushing before the Stamps would punt it one more time. He would then find Tim White for a 55-yard pass and a Bell 11-yard pass before Mark Legio would kick it 35 yards. Schultz would then move it 26 yards between passing and rushing, and then they had turnover on downs.
Yep.
Bo would then rush for 10. Greg Bell would rush for 10. Bo would then throw to Keandre Smith for 27 yards, and on that 27-yard pass at the 7:37 of the fourth quarter is when he hit the 500-yard mark. At the 14-yard line. 2 plays later, he threw his...
You mean 5,000, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 plays later, he would throw his 5th touchdown and 2nd of the game to Stephen Dunbar. His 2-point convert would fail. Each team would go 2-and-out. Schultz would get turnover on downs with 2:06 to go. There would be a few rushes. Greg Bell even got a 52-yard rush to the Calgary 13, where Hamilton would kneel for 3 times to end the game. Carter's like, Jesus Christ, man, take a breather.
I was about to say, honestly, I was like, here, you got the video, you got the set, man.
I was doing some Carter points.
Yeah, so these long monologues. I know I do that.
Yes.
Fair enough. Hey, you know what? There's a lot of good stuff that you had in there, though. So overall, you'd have 2 receivers on the Ticat side of things, both cracking 100 yards with Dunbar,
and 2 touchdowns each.
With 2 touchdowns each. There would then also be a touchdown for Robinson. But then Dunbar, 146, almost hits that 150 mark. So very good night for him. And then, of course, Bell almost hitting 150 himself with 139. And then with Calgary, they had no one in the vicinity. So Schultz would only throw 50% on the night. No touchdowns, only 1 interception. But Levi Mitchell would have himself a fantastic night. And so the only thing that stands in between Bo Levi Mitchell and guaranteed MOP is
the playoffs.
Is
that loss that
it's not
because we had
it's not. It's none of those things, because the playoffs is not really a factor in the MOP, because they give out the playoff MOP. You know what I mean? The only thing that stands in the way of Bo Levi Mitchell is the team record. Is the fact that despite all these
we're not
wonderful
making the playoffs
stats, that there was nothing to show for it in terms of getting the wins that they needed. So then the ultimate question comes down to, does the performance of the team matter in MOP? I think it has to, at least a little bit. I think ultimately, though, when it comes to whoever gets their vote, it'll be their decision on how much that affects.
So just since you brought that up, I'm gonna just mention one thing. So here's how I thought about it when I seen the list.
Yeah,
Bo's gonna represent the East. And then it's either going to come down to Oliveira, or it's going to be coming down to Milligan to represent the West.
Yep, that'd be my prediction as well. as it could have been Vernon Adams Jr., but because they went to Rourke for a bit, that basically killed that. But so yeah, it'll either be Brady Oliveira or Milligan Jr. I think Bolívar Mitchell has that east secured. But all in all, big game for the Ticats. Big snoozer there for the Stampeders. And then I'm trying to think here, who's got a bye week for the last week? It's
BC
Lions. But anyways, if we get into the second game of the week, so second of 3 games in the week, on the Saturday, the Toronto Argonauts would defeat the Ottawa Redblacks by a score of 38-31. A pretty decent scoring game.
Redblacks only almost pulled off a rider.
Yeah, seriously, what the hell? 25 points in the fourth quarter. Almost absolutely nothing in the rest of the game. Seriously, it's one of those things where it's Ottawa loses by 1 touchdown despite being down 32 points going into the fourth quarter, which is just insane to think about. So it is all Toronto this entire game. I mean, in the second quarter, there'd be a 7-yard pass from Drew Brown to Braylon Addison. However, the point after would get blocked by the Argonauts, and so that would keep them from getting the conversion, the 7th point there. And then Braylon Addison would get himself a touchdown in the fourth. There would be then 2 successful 2-point conversions after Justin Hardy touchdowns. As he would convert the first one to Justin Hardy, and the second one to Braylon Addison, and then Lewis Ward would hit a 38-yard field goal to get this game a little bit closer, but not able to secure the win. And so Drew Brown would throw 400 yards, 31 for 43, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, an excellent game for Drew Brown. When he kind of needed one to maybe get some momentum going into playoffs, if he's the one that plays that game. Chad Kelly, 21 for 26, pretty solid week for him too. 331 yards, good completions on attempts ratio, 331 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So both quarterbacks having themselves a good night. Polk continues to kind of shine as a new member of this a new face of this receiving corps in Toronto with another game above 100 yards, where I think it was only like 4 or 5 weeks ago, me and Rick were kind of looking at each other like, who's this Polk guy that we've never heard of? And
if I'm not mistaken, I'm actually going to look it up now. I think he's had...
I think that even if this is not his first year, this is definitely his breakout year. Like he's
this is his first year.
This is his first year? Okay. Because I was about to say, regardless, even if he had played or not, he had never played like this before.
So that was his 4th 100-yard game.
Yeah. No, he's been strong, and he's gotten stronger as the season has gone along. And then on the kicking side of things, Harilahu goes 1 for 1 for the Argos. And in the Red Blacks, Lewis Ward goes 1 for 2. His longs being a 38-yarder. He missed another one. I don't know how long it was, but didn't quite get it. Pippleton and Hardy being the kind of the 2 standout receivers in terms of the yards gained. However, 2 touchdowns for Braylon Addison, so good job for him. Also, Braylon Addison, thanks for coming on the show a while ago. Really appreciate that. And then, all things considered, a good game offensively from both of these teams. Even Ottawa putting up 31 points, that should be enough to win you the game, but neither team was able to play really that incredible defense. Toronto was able to do that mostly throughout this game, but just completely forgot that come fourth quarter, and really let the Red Blacks back into this game. Not to the point where the Red Blacks win, but to the point where Ottawa would lose by a respectable amount. And so I think that's a good showing from the Red Blacks, at least in the fourth quarter, that they're able to fight back and not give up in seemingly a game that wasn't that important, but it is what it is. I think this might have affected affected the East. Yeah, this affects the East standings a little bit in terms of if Ottawa gets a home game. They definitely were fighting for that. But
so
maybe
Ottawa needed to win. Ottawa needed to win that game and beat us this week to host a home playoff game. Toronto just needed to win that game to host.
Yep. And so
a playoff game.
That pretty much means that now the majority of the playoffs is set.
Except for you guys.
With the East now all lined up with it now being confirmed that the Alouettes will have a bye, which they've had for the past while, but the Argos will host the Eastern semifinal against the Ottawa Red Blacks. That is now guaranteed no matter the outcome of the last games of the year. In the West, BC Lions are very much in third place and will be there. They will be the away team in the West semifinal against either the Winnipeg Blue Bombers or the Saskatchewan Roughriders, contingent on if Winnipeg wins, Winnipeg clinches the West in any situation. If Winnipeg loses,
we will know.
Saskatchewan needs to beat Calgary
at 6 p.m. Eastern time, Saturday afternoon, of what the outcome of the Montreal game is. On if you guys have first, or if Saskatchewan has a chance an hour later.
Yeah, and it'll either be that Winnipeg is clinched or it is still unknown and will be contingent upon the Calgary-Saskatchewan game next week. But we'll talk about that a lot more in the preview. But overall, solid game for the Argonauts, despite a abysmal fourth quarter for them. They're able to at least play the long game, and they won that 38-31 win for the Argos. And that leaves us with the last game of the week, where... Oh.
I do have a question about this last game of the week. Are you looking at Montreal stats right now?
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks threw 67 yards.
I was about to say, I think they were called the what was it? What's the team called? The 67s in the OHL?
Ottawa 67s?
The Ottawa 67s? Yeah, no, it was the Montreal 67s for this game. However, they didn't put up 67 points. No, they only put up 3. And that was because they played bad. Yeah, no, that wasn't good.
I mean, it's not that they played bad. When you have a guy named Stevie Scott III that's leading your rushing and you've never heard of them, you know that they're sitting there.
That part is true. However, I'm also going to talk about some of the guys that did play. Cody Fajardo played a little bit today. Alexander, who is a capable backup, does play. Sneed plays. Julian Grant plays. Rambo plays. Speaker plays. Thomas Erlington plays. You couldn't put up one touchdown? Like, fuck, I know you don't have anything. Now, here's the thing. They have nothing to play for. They have nothing to play for. Fair enough. However, you practice how you play. In the sense of that, if you are playing this game, even though it is a nothing game for you, if you treat it like a nothing game, then come playoffs, when you have to treat it like a something game, we'll see if you're back in form. And we'll see. Toronto got burnt on that last year. We'll see if Montreal is in a similar boat. But overall, just not a performance at all. As opposed to Vernon Adams Jr., 26 for 36, so decent on completion percentage there. 385 passing yards, 10.7 yards on average, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So goes 50. Goes 1 for 1 in that regard. Antwi, 71 rushing yards. Stanback gets 6 rushes. He would get 28 rushing yards. So not even that he was doing bad. Just they want to have that ball around a little bit more. Kiana Hatcher would lead the Lions in receiving yards, 117 on 8 receptions. McInnes just behind him with 106 on 7 receptions. So 2 receivers over 100 yards receiving for the BC Lions, with Berryhill III as well as Hollins as their two receivers with touchdowns. Vernon Adams Jr. would run in for 8 touchdown himself. Sean White goes 2 for 2, and he would hit with the longest being a 33-yard field goal. But overall, BC scoring the entirety of this game. They shut out the Alouettes for the first 3 quarters of this game till the Alouettes right near the end with just, I think, 4 minutes left would hit, or not with 4 minutes left, with 11 minutes left, would hit a 14-yard field goal. Maltos would hit that in order to finally get the Alouettes on the board and allow them to avoid getting shut out. But overall, I mean, this was a nothing game. BC was confirmed to be third in the West. Montreal was confirmed to be first in the East. As much as it's fun to kind of crap on Montreal and how little they performed, even though there were some talented guys that were playing. This is not a game that matters on that schedule for them. If anything, maybe it just looked like a disappointing practice. And for the Lions, it was good for them in solidifying that Vernon Adams Jr. is going to be that guy going into playoffs. And then they'll have a whole host of issues to deal with in regards of the Lions' future once they hit the off season. And Rick will have some fun covering that when that happens.
I have a little tidbit before we end this video.
Yep.
So when you guys play Montreal next week, do you believe that they're going to go full roster?
No.
Okay. So my question, the reason why I asked that is, do you think Nick Dempsey is going to play?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Ontario Wilson and Nick Dempsey can both get 60 receiving yards each?
Yeah.
So if those two get 60, Dunbar gets 30, Eugene Lewis gets 28, this will be the first year in a while that I can remember where we have 9 players over 1,000 yards receiving in the whole league.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, also, Carter, I have some upsetting news. Zach Claris has won the Cody Fajardo Award. Leading the league with 33 sacks. That was it this year. 33. Not the 57 or whatever
with
we had last year.
Hey, man, you know what? With us losing Jeff Gray as well as Hardrick, with Hardrick being the real loss there, and then Kolinkowski and Neufeld getting a year older than I'd like, that was bound to happen. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, that's not an award. I'm happy that they win, but as long as they get that nice shiny trophy at the end, I'll be okay with it.
That's true.
And they have had good games. It's just they've also had terrible games, and those ones.
Well, at least I don't have to worry about Zach Claros passing Bo Levi Mitchell for passing record this year.
That's we're in the postseason. I'm worried about that
because there's no way that Zach's throwing 1,000 yards in a game.
Well,
I mean,
there's no way that the Boveralls make it to the CFL playoffs. So.
It is what it is. We still got next year because we'll probably hire Chris Jones full time.
Yeah,
then we can figure out.
Maybe now that Curtis Rourke gets injured, he doesn't go straight to the NFL, and maybe you guys try scooping him up. Remember, he got injured, so he's not going to win the Heisman Trophy.
I mean, we have Tula's brothers, so I mean,
yeah, but
and then we have Taylor Powell. What are you going to do? Get rid of Powell and have Tula and Rourke as 2 rookie backup quarterbacks?
Sure. Go for it. That sounds like fun. I don't know. They'll figure it out.
We shall figure it out.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. Got a lot of good stuff coming out, as we discussed earlier in the video. If you're on Spotify, give us 5 stars. Really appreciate that. Helps out the channel a ton. And remember, reminder, later today, as of this video being uploaded, our preview for this for the last week of CFL action is going to be coming up. And so we got a few games that come down to the wire. And then afterwards, Rick, it's CFL playoffs. And I think we're going to try to stream as much of that as possible. I'm going to tell you right now, we will not stream the Grey Cup. It is always a tradition in my family that we watch Grey Cup with the grandparents and whatnot. And so not streaming. I'm spending some time with my family for that. No matter who's
speaking
playing,
speaking of streaming, do you have any plans for Saturday afternoon?
I'm not sure as of yet.
Okay.
Inconclusive.
Keep an eye out because we could possibly be streaming the Winnipeg Montreal game on Saturday.
It's a good point. So we may do that. Who knows? But we'll put something out on the channel, on the social media and whatnot, and then also just stay tuned. So, but peace and love, positivity to all you wonderful people at home, and we'll see you guys next time.